September it's a wild card track. So it's not like going to Arizona or California where there's a little bit of quote unquote home turf. I mean, they don't really run a lot there, and I mean, for the Mods to be there, obviously, is a great move by Steve Beitler because the turnout was immense, and yeah, you have some of the best drivers in the Western United States basically go at a neutral site to duke it out, and you saw the deck get shuffled the second night as far as the finishes, compared to the first night. So.
Yeah, well, it's a high-speed shakedown, really. I mean, it's go time, but your setup isn't 100% on that car, and you're trying to figure that out while trying to collect a win. And there's guys that are really good, and there's guys that struggle to get it done. But it's always neat to see that. I mean, I wish that was down here in our area to see all that, pre-race, preseason's deal to shake it down under competition status, but it'll be a good deal for the guys who did attend because, like you said, they got the early jump. Now they got an idea what the car's going to do and how to set them up. Guys like Craig Hansen with the brand new Victory Circle chassis, kind of trying to figure that out. That was a great move. Those guys will travel north and make that race.
Absolutely, and we talked to them too. Is that they talked about how like what Ben just said is that the guys that were really really fast on Saturday or on Friday weren't as fast on the next following day. And so you had a lot of guys that were top 5, top 3 cars that happened to finish, top 10 cars because people, figure their stuff out.
Exactly.
But that's racing in general. But yeah, I mean, having this first race shakedown, having these, jitters and stuff, and some people are ready and some people aren't. But I guarantee Willamette starts next week. Cottage Grove, you start in a week or so. Sunset, we start in a couple weeks. These guys are ready, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's for all of us, in the Northwest, what we're going to see this year. So, Ben, any other stuff you want to talk about as far as what you're anticipating down there, and any big news out of Cottage Grove that you can speak on?
I mean, not really at this time. I mean, going back to the one question you asked, probably the most thing I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'd honestly say, and I'm biased about this, is my dad and my uncle have a big part in it, but historical night, I think it's always, every time there's like a benchmark year, it seems to be, they do even more, and the turnout for the past, participants, whether it was a driver or a car owner or even somebody that worked at the track, I mean, it's always overwhelming, and the display that put together, I mean, it's basically a traveling museum that they have, and I mean, just the amount of time and effort that they put in, it's incredible, and it's really cool because it's like a high school reunion, kind of, sort of, except over spanning decades of time, but at the same time, there's a race going on, and so I guess it's not really a high school reunion. It's more like a family reunion. And
right.
You just have these people that haven't seen each other for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, or however long. And it's just cool to see that. I mean, if I didn't have to announce, it would be easily, I could spend over 12 hours talking to everybody, of the older generation, just talking about old racing stories and stuff. Unfortunately, that's not possible because I have a job to do. But I mean, that event is probably Cottage Grove. I'd have to say one of the popular ones. I mean, the Marvin Smith Memorial Grove Classic is a big one, and I think the Wallbinger Cup this year is going to be probably the best ever.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk to you about that because I had a conversation with Chris Sine, who has worked really, really hard on that Wallbinger Cup, and talking with him this year, to honor the late, great Mark Howard, the Wallbinger Cup really sounds like it's going to be going to the next level with some big money and the competition that's coming down there on that date for you guys. Your fans are really going to see some fantastic racing.
Yeah, I mean, last year was just a totally awesome race. I mean, it came down to the very last lap, and the turnout was great. But, you know, the most important thing about that race is, you know, it honors a great man and, you know, a guy that was a huge influence in my life. And, it's just so cool because, you know, the whole Howard family is involved. You know, they support it and they give it its blessing. And same with the racers, too. And that's the coolest thing. You see guys that normally they'd be in, some of them might be in a sprint car, some of them might be in a modified, some of them might be in a late model, but they kind of, you could say, become a hired gun or find a ride to participate in that race, not because they want to win the money, and not because, you know, for, more just to honor Mark, you know. Huge legacy for sure, not just at Cottage Grove, but the whole Northwest.
Exactly, and that's why, you know, you talk about the guys, you know, the hired guns, if you will, making that race, but you're also going to see a lot of cars from Sunset and from Willamette heading down that way. Yeah, they're there to take a shot at the money. The other thing, like you said, is to honor Mark Howard, and, you know, a guy that meant so much to all of us in the Northwest, and, you know, a hero to a lot of us, and I know myself included in that category. He was one of the guys that when I was a kid I wanted to be like. You know,
right,
there was a reason why I ran 26 on my karts, and they were blue, white, and orange. It was because Mark Howard. And, yeah, that's a real special thing for you guys to have down there, and I wish it was a show that I could make. Unfortunately, with, you know, having to be on the mic, I won't be able to be there, but I'll get the updates.
You'll be there in spirit, right?
Oh, I'll be there, absolutely. But it'll be a good deal. And Ben, I want to say thanks for joining us. I want to wish you the best of luck this year, and everybody at Cottage Grove that's listening, have a great time, and best of luck. Have a great, fun, safe racing season down there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We'll talk to you soon, Ben. We'll keep you on the show throughout the season and get updates from you at Cottage Grove. And I want to say thanks for taking your time with us, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
Have
Thanks,
a great
buddy.
day.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it's talking with Ben. Always a fun guy to talk to.
Ben Deathridge down at Cottage Grove, man.
He's the guy at Grove. I mean,
Absolutely.
he's a wealth of knowledge. You know, he's been there a long time. He's seen that track, you know, literally his whole life. His dad, a big part of that track, and to put on the historical night they do down there, and which you're starting to see now at other tracks that have the, you know, the SRAM name associated with it. We're seeing some Hall of Fames pop up, and we'll see some more of that this year at Willamette Speedway. We're going to do a lot of special things for not just the drivers, but the fans. You know, I mean, it's what it's all about. That's what Moxie Media is all about, just making it a good show and having fun with these teams and really giving the fans an interactive way to get involved with the sport and with the teams and drivers. Well, you know, that's kind of what we do. We do this for the fans.
And that's the thing too, is that when we first started talking, you know, at Willamette and everything else, and started kicking up ideas of what you had and what you wanted to kind of do, this is the cool thing is that, you know, I mean, I just got a text from, you know, Scott Weinbarger or whatever, and talk about how cool everything was. You know, he's this man. I've actually had, you know, time personal to talk to him, and he's one of those guys that are so generally, you know, nice and sweet and everything else, and he's such a ball of knowledge and stuff too. It's cool. You know, I asked him, I said if, you know, he had an opportunity to call in, and he says not right now, he's working real hard. He's, you know, has his own job and everything too. He's working, but he wanted to say, you know, that he's listening to us, you know, just like half of the dozen texts and stuff that we are. I know Scott kind of got in a couple fender benders and stuff up there. But again, you know, I mean, he was extremely fast. You know, he you know, had those, you know, those jitters and everything else. I mean, I might be speaking a little bit over, you know, he might sit there and say, oh, no. But, you know, he's going to get back in the seat. He's going to do just fine. And I guarantee he's going to be a top 3, top 5 car, if not contending for a win this year. It was funny watching before the season started and seeing his suit there next to the car and his helmet next to the car and everything else.
The big smile on his face.
Big smile on his face and watching that big old goof, you know, talk about getting back in a race car. It tickled me because I actually really I remember years ago watching him, but I didn't know who he was. You know, I heard the name and all that, but to see how happy he is and excited to be back at the track, not only just, you know, as a parent for, you know, Superman Colin, but to be back as a driver again, man, well, he's going to wheel a car.
Here's the cool thing about that. Awesome. Here's the cool thing about that, and I can see why Scott's so excited and that big smile is on his face. You know, for him to be able to get on the racetrack with his son, get out there and bang doors, put a bumper on him, say, "Hey kid, come on, I'll give you everything I got. I know you're probably going to whip me, but I'll give you that. You know what I mean? No, Scott ain't gonna say that. If you know Scott, he's a straight shooter.
Yeah,
he won't go easy on that
He's
kid.
gonna have to drive as hard as he can with like the checkerboard.
He won't go easy on that kid. But I understand that feeling because a couple winters ago at Salem Speedway, I got to get on the track with my son when he started racing in his kart.
Ain't that cool?
We got out there, and I'll tell you, I've been around the sport my entire life, and it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. Get to share the racetrack with my son, and like I obviously in a faster car, but come up behind him and put a bumper on him, and
rattle his cage a little bit.
Yeah, I had a good time, and so I can understand Scott's excitement about that, and it's a cool thing, and it'll be fun to watch. To see the Weinbargers duke it out, and. We've seen other father-son duos, with Charlie James, Bryson James on the track together,
Cells.
Brett, the Cells. Yeah, it's always cool, and that's the thing about racing. We truly are a family-based sport.
Absolutely.
We see it from from the top levels all the way down to grassroots, from the Allison gang all the way down to the local father-son teams, here in the Northwest, and it is cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch and to see the next generation come in. Now we're starting to see an invasion, and I'm going to call it an invasion of these next generation drivers coming in. And the cool thing about it is, you look at Kevin Roberts. He's got his daughter in a car. You look at Tony Breakall. He's got his daughter in a car. You look at Todd Miller. He's got his daughter Mackenzie Lockhart in a car. And this next generation of drivers that are coming in that are hot. They're fast. They get in there and they go out, and it's just like, hey, we're here to race. We might be girls, but we're going to give you. We're going to give it to you. We're going to bang doors. We're going to go side by side. We're going to go 3 wide. And practice last Saturday. Mikey Breakall was out there, and I'll tell you, that girl it's hammer down.
Yeah.
She drove her into one.
She's not scared of nothing.
Well, and the thing about that kid, she drove into one. She's 3 laps on the track. Her 3rd lap, she drives her in. She wants to see how fast, how deep that car will go, and she held it down till it spun. And so, okay, now I know where I can go. Now I know how deep I can
back off that
in.
next tenth or whatever like that.
We'll slideways Breakalls back there saying,
Uh-huh.
hey, kid, do this, do that. This is what I want you to do. And she's listening and picking it up, but it is awesome to see these girls. And I think it's a great thing for the sport. It is a fantastic thing for our sport, to see girls with the Breakalls, the Roberts, the Todd Miller gang with the 2 daughters coming up,
Yeah, the family generation is coming up.
Yeah, Trinity Penley and Mackenzie Lockhart, those girls coming up, and it is such a cool thing to see the diversity, and it creates a little competition on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Because I'll tell you.
Well, when I sat there and was at Salem here, a month or so ago, and got to be able to interview Michaela Massey, she's another one of these girls driving these cage karts and all that type of stuff. Already has a championship underneath her belt in the cage kart. She's another one of those that are now in the 500s in the open and are learning it. But I'll tell you what, she is not afraid to run door to door, Nerf bar to Nerf ball, wheel to wheel.
Well,
and she says, hey, she goes open wheel. Just makes them run a little bit harder, doesn't
that
it?
Girl, she's got the Incredible Hulk on her car.
Right?
I'm telling you, there is no fear out of the Massey stables. Her dad's the same way.
Her dad cracks me up so much. I've never laughed so hard.
I've got some stories I can share with Joe on a trip to Vegas, but those will stay in Vegas, won't they, Joe Massey?
I heard a couple of them.
We're going to keep that off the air.
I do want to say, Steve Kolovich, Northwest Modified, just texted in. He said interviews are doing great, man. He says he's listening too. He's listening at work. So we want to say thank you very much for listening.
See, now we're guys like you and I and Ben Deathridge and anybody else that's getting on the mic, to announce at a racetrack. We're gearing up for our season. We're still doing a little homework. We're still putting some paperwork together and getting ready for what we're going to do. This guy has already gone to work. With the race up in Yakima.
Already got points.
He's already got the points done. They're listed. The other guys can go see where they're at in the Northwest Modified Cup. And man, I'll tell you something. I love what that guy does. He was here for the car show, and he was making the thing aware, and he was selling some shirts, and I saw a lot of those shirts walking around. He sold a lot of shirts, and it was really cool to see him coming in and getting these guys excited, and a lot of drivers registering for points. But I do not in any way envy what Steve is doing and what he has ahead of him for the 2016 season. Because I wouldn't want it, Steve. I would not want to do what you do, buddy.
We know that you're listening because you just texted in, so of course you are. But I'll tell you what, doing it solo, and you know what? I'm so glad I have my job, because all I have to do is just talk for that night and a little bit, every other week on Moxie Radio, Northwest Dirt News. But I'll tell you what, this man not only has a full-time job, but then turns right back around and does this, and wow. I got a full-time job. You talk about, racing with your sons or kids or whatever. Mine just turned 1, here a couple weeks ago, and then so I have a couple more years before he can get into into a kart or into a a puff up kart or whatever. But I'm excited to be able to get on the track with him and watch him go around circles.